Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to create a Django authentication project. At the end of the video, you will truly understand how we can create an authentication system and you can then use this authentication system in any of your further projects. So let's get started. Let's create a folder here. Let's create a folder called authentication. Now let's open this folder using VS Code. Now let's start our project. So right here, Django admin start project authentication. So our authentication project has been created. Here you can see there is one authentication. This will be our root app. We'll create one more app here. So let's move to this authentication folder. So cd authentication, or let's close it and open it. Open this folder. So now we have opened this folder. We have one root app which is authentication. Now let's create another app. So let's write here Django admin start app login system. Command login system is not a valid app name. Okay, so we have to give it underscore Django admin start app login underscore system. So we create many apps in our Django project. One is login system app, and if you have any functionality like in social media app, we have post. So we'll create another application for post, and we will manage all the codes related to post there, and we'll manage all the codes related to our authentication in this login system. So now we have to create a template. So to create template folder, create template folder here. It will store all the templates related to our project. So now we have to register the template path. So let's go to setting, let's go to template. Right here, base underscore dir, and then slash name of your folder. So we have given the name and the path of our folder template here. Now we'll create basic template for index.html. We'll also create a template for signin.html and signup.html. We'll also have our base template. Let's create a base template here. All other templates will extend from this template. So let's go to Bootstrap to get some navigation. Let's search for Bootstrap template first. So I got all the CDN links here. Now we don't want H1 here. So instead of this title, we will make the title dynamic. So right here, percent block title. So we can then have different titles for different pages which are extending from this template. Let's write here end block. Similar to here, we'll have a body block, we'll have a div class is equals to container and padding y of 3. This is a bootstrap class. This will add some margin and this will add some padding here, and we'll create one more block here of our body. So our body will be different for different HTML pages extending this base.html. Now we'll create a navigation bar here. So let's search for navigation here. So here we have a navigation bar. We want a simple navigation. Let's copy this. Let's paste it here. Now we just want our home, and then we want sign up. Here we want sign in. And here we want logout. Let's move our logout to top after home. So now we have to extend this template in our index. So for extending, we just write extends. So here we'll write extends, and here base.html. So it is extending base.html. Now it will have own title. So let's copy this block here, paste it here, and write here as home page. Let's create another block for our body, and for now let's give here heading. This is our home page. Now to render this, we have to create one view and one URL. So let's create a view here. No, not here. We have to create it in our root app. Let's create a URL here. So we have to include our authentication, include our login system URLs here. So let's create URLs here. You have to create urls.py here. So all the URLs related to login system will be managed here in this urls.py. So let's copy this. Let's paste it here. We don't want admin here. Admin will just want for our root application, which is this, because we have to register our admin here. Now we'll register a path for our authentication slash, and then we'll include the URLs of this application. So whenever this URL hits in the address bar, it will transfer to this urls.py. So further it will match the URL here. So let's cut here, and let's add a path here also. Here we will add sign up path. Let's create path later. So here we have created here in authentication we have created our path for admin. This is just for admin interface. We'll create a path for authentication, and include all the URLs from our login system. So include login system dot URL, and we'll also create a path for home. So let's create a path for home, views dot index, and we'll name this path as home. So how to import views here? Here we don't have views. In views we register our functions, we write our functions. So let's create our views file here, views.py. Generally we do this all in other applications like login system, but here we are just want it to do authentication, so we are creating views here. Let's copy this render method is used to render the HTML files. Go here, let's write here. Now we'll create this. Now in this URLs, whenever this root means our home URL. So let's start our server. For starting the server, we just have to write python manage.py and then run server. Python manage.py and run server. So our server is starting. So we are getting error, views is undefined. So what happens is, here we want to give a path here, so we are giving the path as root, means home, whenever the user is on home URL. So this function will run. So we are giving the views.index, here is views, and here we will create a function called index. For now write pass. So let's go to URLs. So it doesn't know what is views, so you have to import this views here. So from dot import views. So we have imported views. Now whenever the user is on this root, means home root, this function should be work, or this function should be executed. So this function will be executed whenever URL user will be on this root, and we have named this URL as home. So whenever we want to redirect from navigation, so we'll use this name there. I'll show you. So now we have to create here our function. So let's render our template. So you have to just write return render, and then you have to pass this request parameter, and then you have to pass the path of the file. So here the path of the file is index.html. By default this template path is added, so the Django will look for the templates here. So you don't have to write template here, you just have to write a file name here. So we'll write index.html. You can pass the data here in dictionary. For now we don't have any data to pass, so just write empty dictionary. Let's go to our server. Let's see what we get. So we're getting this navbar, home, logout, sign up, and sign in. So this is our home page. The index file is loaded here, as you can see. So let's go to our base.html. From here in this base.html, our index file is extending. Uh, so in this logout, let's remove this disabled prop. So right here, let's remove this navbar. Let's remove this button toggler also. Now let's see. So this is home, this is logout, this is sign up, and this is sign in. Currently the index page is loaded here. So we are done with our home page. Now we have to work with our user sign up. So in Django, we have a building class which is user creation class. So with using this class, we are going to build our sign up for users. So let's go to our authentication or login system. Let's go to views, because sign up feature is related to the authentication, means login logout, and we are handling all the code related to our authentication here in this login system. So let's go to our views.py and import that class. Here we have to write from Django dot contrib dot auth dot forms import user creation form. So this is the default class provided by Django. We can use this class for creating our users. So this class provides three fields, which are username, password 1 and password 2. So password 2 will be re-entering the password. So password 2 must match with the password 1 for successful creation of our user. Let's create a function. Let's write here sign up. Let's pass a request as a parameter. Then we have to create our instance of this class. Let's create an instance of this class. Now we have to check whether the user has submitted the form or not. So first we'll create a boolean variable which will specify whether the user has entered the details correctly or not. Let's write here invalid is equals to is valid is equals to false, means starting the user has not entered any details, so in starting the is valid will be false. Once it satisfies the condition, then we will set it to true. Now we will create a HTML. Now we have created our HTML file here. It's called as sign up. So let's also extend this in our sign in and also in sign up. Let's remove here, also remove here. So whenever the user will submit the data will be sent here as a post. So if request dot method equals to post, means when the user submitted his details. So if this happens, then I want to create an instance of this form with passing all the data there. So let's create an instance user creation form and let's pass the data as request dot post. So this will contain all the details or data entered by the user, and this will create a instance of this form with this data. So now check if all the details field are valid by writing this: if form dot is valid, then we'll save the form. So form dot save. So if the form submitted is valid, then save it. Also make our valid variable true. So we'll make our valid variable true here, because the form is valid and user has submitted his details. So the variable will be useful in our template to show user if any error happens or if their form is submitted successfully. So we'll render a HTML file here. So let's render our form here. Return render request to signup.html, and we'll pass context as we'll pass this form, so that in HTML we can render this form. Let's pass this form, and then we'll pass our isValid prop is valid. So we have created our sign up function. Now let's move here. Let's now work with our signup.html. we have extended from base.html. We have entered the body title. So right here as sign up or create new account. So let's write here as h1 create a new account, and here we'll write sign up only. So now we can create a form which we have passed from here as a form variable, so we can then use it here. So we'll create a form. We don't want this action, we want this method as post, and then we'll pass our csrf token, and then we'll render this form. This form, why we are using this form, because we have passed our form as a this form, so we can use it here in this signup.html. Now let's create a submit button here. So button submit, let's add class to this button. So btn success, btn sm, and right here create account. So we have created our button. So this form will be submit as soon as the user click this button. Now if you want to display the sign up page, then you have to create its URL. So let's create a URL here in authentication. No, in login system we'll create a URL here. So path sign up, and let's in the function as views dot sign up, let's import the views here. So dot import views, and then we'll define namespace for this app. So right here app name equals to auth, so that we then create use it in specifying the URLs in navigation. So now we have created our URLs, and we'll name this function as sign up. So we have named this function. Now we'll update our navigation bar. So let's update our navigation bar, add here the URL of sign up. So URL, and then you have to write a namespace in auth, and then the name of the function. So the name of our function in URL is sign up. So let's write here sign up. Let's now move towards this, and let's create our sign up. So our HTML form is loaded here. Now it will have all these messages and fields, username, password, and password to this button is created by me. So now we can change its display using Django crispy form, because the display here does not look fine. So we'll use crispy forms. So for that you have to install crispy forms. So let's open another terminal. Let's write here pip install crispy forms. Sorry, pip install Django crispy forms. So right here Django, and then crispy, and then forms. Already satisfied, because I have already installed that package here in my system, but you have to download it if you haven't installed it yet. So you also have to add one more package. So let's write here pip installed crispy bootstrap 5. So this also I have already downloaded and installed in my system. So let's close it and then move in our authentication. This is our root project. So let's go to settings. Now you have to add this in installed app. So right here crispy forms, and then you also have to write crispy underscore bootstrap 5. Also you have to add crispy template package. So we are using bootstrap 5, so we'll write here as crispy template pack as bootstrap 5. Bootstrap 5. We also have to write crispy allowed template packs bootstrap 5. So now we can use crispy forms. So let's go to sign up, add here load crispy forms tags. So we can now use our crispy tags here. So you just have to write here crispy. Let's see whether our app is running. Our app is running. Now let's reload this. So you can see now it is well formatted. Now we have completed our sign up portion. Now we will work on our login portion. So you are seeing here validations. So don't worry for that. Let's create an account. So we will write Ritik and I'll set password as Ritik 12345. First, I will add different password so that you can see validation errors. Let's add different password here. So you can then see, so have an operational error. So we are getting this error because we haven't created any user table here. So first of all, we have to run this python manage.py and then migrate. It will create our default database provided by Django. So you can see our default database is creating here and our users are created. So let's another time run python manage.py and then make migrations. Then let's run python manage.py and migrate. For migrated, now if you move and reload this, so we can see that the two password fields didn't match. So you just have to should run this commands python manage.py migrate and make migrations so that our user table, our default user table is created and our database is active. So let's give correct password 12345 12345. Let's create our account. So our account has been created. Let's see in our admin. For accessing the admin, you have to create our super user so that you can access your admin from there. Let's create a super user. So python manage.py create super user. So name super user as admin @gmail.com. You can give any name to this username, and you can give any email address. Password will be admin. Re-enter the password. The password should be matched. Then yes, our super create user is created successfully. Now we can access our admin using the super user we have created. Let's go to admin. Let's write username as admin and password also as admin, which we have created. You have to write here username which we have created uh, while creating our super user. So let's see our users. So this was super user and this was created by our sign up. Now you want that the whenever this function is loaded and whenever this has been executed and user has successfully entered his details and his details are correct, then your form will be submitted, and you want that the user should be redirected to the home page. For that you have to import from Django.urls import reverse. Now we have to add from Django.shortcuts import http response redirect. So we can then redirect our user from this location. So we'll write here return http response redirect and reverse. So we'll write here index means name of our URL. So name of our URL in the root app is home. So we have to write here home. Now let's write here as home in single bracket. So let's see what happens then. Clear our admin and let's go to sign up. Let's create another user. So user 1. Now user 1 2 3 4 5. User 1 2 3 4 5. Let's create. So we are redirected to our home page. So this was about sign up. Now we have completed our sign up portion. Now we will work on our login portion. So for login also we have provided a class by Django that is called as authentication form class. So let's move to views. Let's import that class also. That class name is authentication form. So using this form class provided by Django, we can implement our sign in function. So let's create a function here, login page. So login page, pass request here, for now pass, and then we have to import our login logout method. So let's import it also. So from Django dot contrib.auth import login authenticate and logout. So this login will be helpful in login the user. This will take care of login the user. This logout will be helpful in logout the user. And this authenticate we want authenticate method which will check whether user is authenticated or not. Also for logout we have added import our logout. Now we have created our function which we called as login page. Now we have to create an instance of our form. So let's create an instance. Form is equals to authentication form. So we have created our instance. Now we have to check whether the user has submitted the form by using request.method. So we'll write if request dot method equals to post. So if user has submitted the username and password, so we have to create another instance of our authentication form by passing all the post data. So we'll create an instance of our authentication form by passing all the request dot post data. So it will contain the username and password entered by the user, that form. Now if valid, now this form is valid, means username and password field are valid, then we'll extract the username and password using this syntax. So we'll write username as form dot cleaned data dot get username. So we have extracted our username. Same we will do for password. So right here password. So we have extracted our username and password. Now we have to check if the user with this username and password exists or not. We'll check it by using our authenticate method. So user and authenticate, we pass username as username and we'll pass password as password. So this will check if we have an account with the same username and password as entered by the user. So this will then log in that user. We are checking this by using our authenticate method. So now if user is not none, then we have to log in the user. So using this login method which we have imported here, we'll log in the user by passing the request and then user. So what is basically happening is if the username and password entered by the user matches our available accounts, any of our available account username and password, then this user variable will be that object, means that user. But if it can't find any of the user in our accounts, so which matches this username and password, then this user variable will point to none. So here we are checking if the user exists or not. So if user is not none, means we don't have any account with this username and password. So if the user is not none, then we'll log in the user, means we have founded the account with the same username and password. And if the user is not none, then we will log in that user. So login method will take care of that. Now we will redirect the user to home page. For that we have already added our HTTP response redirect, and also we have added our reverse method. So we'll redirect our user. So for redirecting the whole page, home page, you have to return and render. You have to write here, you have to write HTTP response redirect, and here we have to write reverse, and then we have to pass index function. So this will not home function, we have to pass home function. Here also we have passed home function, so it will redirect to our home page. We have created our signin.html and we have to render it. So here we will render our login.html or signin.html. So return, render, request, and signin.html, and here we'll pass data as form and I don't want to pass anything beyond that. So we have created our signin.html, we have extended it from our page.html, we have added our title. So here we will write sign in, and then here we will write login your account. Let's format it. Now to display this, we have to also create form. For this we will create a form here. We'll pass method as post, we'll add our CSRF token, and we'll then add our form, and then we'll also add our submit button. So let's copy this, paste it here, let's update here sign in. We'll use here also Crosby forms. So let's write here login your account. We are using here also form, so we copied all the data from our sign up. We are updating. So here also we have passed our form as a form variable, so we can access that using this form, and then crispy submit. Here we have to login, add login. So we have added submit button also. How to display this? We have to create a URL. So let's go to our login system and URLs. Let's create our path for sign in. We'll run this sign in function. We'll name this sign in function as sign in, and then in views.py we have named this function as login page. So let's rename it to sign in. Let's go to URL and let's update our navigation bar. So here we'll pass this URL of our sign in. So here we have passed our sign in URL. Now let's reload it and click on sign in. So as you can see, we are getting this interface. And sign up, we are getting this interface. So right here we click, and then we click 1 2 3 4 5. So as you can see, we are getting this error clean data. So this error is coming because we haven't checked whether our form is valid or not. So if form is valid, then we have to do this. So let's wrap it here. So our server is starting again. Let's reload here. Signup.html, we have to write create account, and in sign in we have to write. So as you can see, if we are creating the username with the same name, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. So still it is redirecting it here, and we are not getting any error. So let's see what happens. So here it is happening because if the form is invalid, then we have to save the form, and we have written our HTTP redirect here. So we have to return our HTTP response redirect if the form is actually saved. Let's reload it here. Let's see what happens now. So 1 2 3 4 5. So now we are getting error. The user is already exists. So let's create our user one now. So it will create now 1 2 3 4 5 user 1 2 3 4 5. The password is still similar to the username, so we have to generate different password. User udemy 1 2 3 4 5, user udemy 1 2 3 4 5. Now let's see if the so now our account is created. So let's move to our admin. Let's check. So now our user is added here. So let's try to log in with the same name. So let's log in it, and then 1 2 3 4 5. So it is actually not login. I think we have to give a parameter as data. So let's see if this now works. User 1 and then user udemy 1 2 3 4 5. So now we are logging successfully. So we have to pass this data parameter. So now we are done with our sign in. It is successfully redirecting to home. Now we have to work on our logout. So let's now work with our logout. So let's go to views.py. Let's create a function called logout user. Let's create a function logout user. Let's pass this request, and then we have already import our logout function. So now using this logout method we have imported, we can log out the current user easily. We have to just write logout, and then we have to pass request, and after logout user should be redirected to the login page. So let's write our redirect code. Let's return http response redirect, and then reverse. Let's write here auth sign in. So the user will be redirected to the sign in page. Now it's important that this function should be only accessible to the user when he's actually logged in. So for that we have login required. So let's also import it. We have imported here login required from django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required. So you just have to write here @login required. So the user will only accessible to this logout only if it is actually logged in. Let's create a URL for logout. Let's write here logout. Let's also write here logout. Just copy paste here. Let's update in our navigation bar. So here we have to write href. We added our href here. This href, I have to just add this href here. Just close it, and here I have to write logout. Let's back to the Chrome. So let's log in. 6 1 2 3 4 5. Let's click on login. Now we have login. We cannot see this logout function. Why? Because we haven't write here logout. Let's write here logout and reload, and then logout. So we are getting value error. So I think we are getting this error because in URLs we haven't write correct function. So you have to write here logout user, and then we will actually able to log out. Let's click on home, login, next, authentication, logout. URL doesn't match. Reload the server. Let's reload it. Let's sign in. Let's click on logout. So we are successfully logged out, and we are redirected to our sign in page. So right now, whether the user is logged in or not logged in, he is able to see all those options, log out, sign up, and sign in. So now I want to do that if the user is not logged in, then he must not able to see this logout in navigation bar, and when he is logged in, then he can see only home and logout options. So let's do that with the help of if block. So here, drag down this, we'll write here as if block percent, and then we'll write if user dot is authenticated. So this is default method. Using this we can see whether the current user is logged in or not. User object, we can access the current user which is requesting anywhere in this HTML file. So the right user dot is authenticated. So if the user is authenticated, then only you will see this logout, and the user is not authenticated, then you will see this. So right here else, and let's end our if block. You just have to write end if. Let's reload our server. Now see, we are not logged in, so we cannot see logout button. So let's log in, and then 1 2 3 4 5. Now you can see that we are not seeing this sign up and sign in option, but we are seeing this logout option. So let's click on logout. We are successfully logged out. In index.html, let's create a paragraph. Here write if block. So we'll write here if user dot is authenticated. So he must see this hello, and here we will write user dot username, and else you haven't logged in. Let's end this, and if let's go back to home. So in home we haven't add our URL. So let's add our URL to home also. Just copy this, paste it here, and just write home. So this is our home page. You haven't logged in, and we are getting sign up and sign in. let's log in with our user one, user Udemy 12345. Let's click on login, and now you can see that hello user one means username is appeared here. We logged in with Ritik 2345. Now you can see hello Ritik appears. So we have successfully completed our project. Here we can sign up the user, we can sign in user, and we can also log out the current user. So this was all about today's video. Hope you find it interesting and helpful. I will see you in the next video.